Brett,
Here.
Whitney,
Here.
Lori,
Here. Just need a motion. We have a quorum.
Motion to approve agenda.
Second.
Okay, thank you, Brett and Chad.
Chad,
Yes.
Kelly,
Yes.
Rick,
Yes.
Brett,
Yes.
Whitney,
Yes.
Lori,
Yes.
Bridget.
Yes. All right, everyone, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the
flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Okay, do I have a volunteer to read the district vision and mission?
I can read it. Southeast Polk, learn, lead, live, success for college, career, and civic life. Engage all students in learning a challenging curriculum delivered through quality instruction.
Thank you, Chad. All right, we're on the public comment section and wow, we have a great crowd here. I would like to if somebody the spokesperson for the group okay. I will hand it over to board member Whitney Smith McIntosh to introduce and tell us about the students who won an American Legion essay writing contest.
So thank you. Here I am wearing a bunch of different hats, so there we go. Thank you for your time today, board, and everybody else. For the record, my name is Whitney Smith McIntosh. I'm on the Southeast Polk School Board. I'm also a resident of Altoona. I would like to introduce you to the American Legion Altoona family. And this family is made up of American Legion Auxiliary Unit 682 members, of which I'm the president, and American Legion Post 682 members, of which I am the adjutant and the 6th District Vice Commander. Now all that's taken care of. Each post in the American Legion has been tasked with making inroads with the school district and creating a relationship with them. The Altoona American Legion Post has created an excellent relationship with the high school counselors, and we were able to get about 10 over the past 2 years candidates to move on to our boys state and girls state camps that we have every year. This is the first year we're able to cultivate a relationship with the elementary schools. Kathleen Liggman is right over here. She is a member of the Altoona American Legion Auxiliary Unit 682. She's also an associate at Centennial Elementary, and she presented the principal and the 5th grade teachers with the American Legion's 5th grade essay contest opportunity. From the 75 5th grade students, 21 parents agreed to let their students write an essay on the American flag. And those 21 students wrote essays on the American flag, its history, and the personal meaning of the flag to them. The American Legion family, made up of the Auxiliary Unit and the Legion Post, would like to take this time to recognize the principal who made all of this possible. Lori, what that? Lori, if you would come up here, you know, all I said was yes. So you out there during this time when we were giving everybody else's certificate, so we had to bring it in here. I got a new yeah, you got a new name. Congratulations on your name. And here you go. Here's your certificate. Appreciation. Well, thank you. Each one of you received the certificate, and each one of the students. Thank you. You're welcome. You're welcome. Okay, so I'm going to introduce the 3 5th grade teachers, and who will be first, second, and third place winners for. So, and Scott, I'm going to come up with Inyard, thank you. Scott Inyard, who had Vinnie Mobile as a 3rd place winner. Sarah Fitzgerald, who had early German in second place. And Mary Peterson, who had Katie Hebert in first place. So Katie, who's our first place winner, like I just said, she went on to district competition, and there were 636 essays. Katie came in first place. So the next step is that Katie's essay will go up against 8 other first-rate essays from around the state of Iowa. And out of those 8, they'll pick the top 3. And so I'm looking forward to seeing Katie at the next conference reading her essay. But Katie, would you like to come up and read your essay, please?
These change things that were important to our founding fathers. These 5 teach justice for president. Achieve the original college. 50 high school kids, 56. There are many points. Another fact is that the design is not professionally created. The shooting is crazy. The 17-year-old boy, Robert J. divided the American flag between the one part of the Constitution. After history of the United States flag that has been used in different versions. Since the flag is so important, there is a special way to take care of the flag dedicated to the seven words to take care of the flag. This includes you should drop it off. If you want the YouTube photo, you should you can take it down if you want. Just make sure that you got some things you should never do to the phone, including putting letters, words, pictures, or drawing on. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is why we should respect the American flag.
So Katie did an excellent job. Thank you so much. That's the first time I heard you read it, because I was not going to be on Monday. So that was excellent. Thank you. So at this point, I want to thank everybody who put their time and effort into this project that we came up with. And next year, we're going to be doing it again. And hopefully we'll have more than Centennial Elementary School. Of course, Centennial will be part of it. And, you know, we have a bunch of other elementary schools we would love to bring involved.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you.
Thanks. Yeah.
Yeah. Should we?
can we take a picture with the?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the teachers?
Congratulations.
Good job, guys.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Next item is our consent agenda.
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
All right. Thank you, Lori and Whitney.
Thank you.
Kelly,
Yes.
Rick,
Yes.
Brett,
Yes.
Whitney,
Yes.
Lori,
Yes.
Bridget,
Yes.
Chad,
Yes.
Okay. All right. Now on to new old business. Item A, long-term substitute teachers.
Motion to approve.
Second that.
Okay, do we have any questions, discussion?
I just want to thank whoever put this together. I think it's so much needed. And I'm thankful we found funds somewhere. And I think every school will benefit, so thank you so much for whoever came up with this plan, because wasn't sure if it was gonna happen or not, so I'm glad it did. So thank you.
All right, any other comments, questions? Okay, think we're ready, Karen.
Rick,
Yes.
Brett,
Yes.
Whitney,
Yes.
Lori,
Yes.
Bridget,
Yes.
Chad,
Yes.
Kelly,
Yes.
Okay, our first read of policies, 600 series and others.
Motion to approve. Second.
Thank you, Lori and Kelly.
Just kind
Any
of,
question?
yeah, I had. So the school calendar is. Obviously, we can come back to it and approve it later, once the legislature gets figured out what they're gonna do, but is it something that we wanna pull out of it
Good idea.
and maybe not? And
Oh,
just deal with it at the time, instead of approving it now, causing Karen to do a lot. I don't know if it causes her a lot of typing or if it's that easy for her. But I just kind of thought maybe it might be something.
I don't think there's any change to that, was there?
That one's gonna be that where they can, it says in there the 23rd.
mhm.
Right,
They're
but
talking about-
I don't think we're changing anything with that policy right now. Is that
No, I
true?
know.
That's not a change.
We just reviewed the policies, but there wasn't any changes to the policy.
But we may have to come back and redo
The
it.
law changes,
Yeah.
whatever that is.
So it probably doesn't need to be
Still
pulled out.
Okay.
It's not changing.
Still a good idea. And then the other question that I had was on the animals in the classroom. I was trying to find that really quick before we got to. You guys are just faster, right?
We were on the policy committee.
Well, yeah, thanks. No, that's not saying I want to get back on it, but
It's 6:06.
yeah.
Page 102.
Yeah, so when that talks about service animals, but it doesn't talk about having insurance. And what? Yeah, I just want to make sure that. How do we keep animals from coming in and getting bit? What's the? And then what is a service dog? Because I don't think it really specifically says in there, because I know it's pretty, and that's what I wanted to go back and.
I think that's in the regulation part, not in the actual policy part.
Okay. But the committee was good with everything. I'm
Mhm.
assuming, so,
Yeah.
Okay. All right, that's the only questions I have.
Thanks, Brett. Anybody else have questions, comments?
There wasn't a lot of changes.
No, didn't look like it. Okay,
Brett,
Yes.
Whitney,
Yes.
Lori,
Yes,
Bridget,
yes.
Chad,
Yes.
Kelly,
Yes.
Rick,
Yes.
Okay, item C, annual review of policy listing.
motion to approve.
Second.
Thank you, Lori and Rick. Any comments, questions?
I'll just make a quick comment. These are, several of these are new requirements. That this is an annual review. There are no changes in any of these policies. It's just a review to meet the new code.
All right. All right, Karen?
Whitney,
Yes.
Lori,
Yes,
Bridget,
Yes.
Chad,
Yes.
Kelly,
Yes.
Rick,
Yes.
Brett,
Yes.
Okay, we have item D, the architect agreement for the transportation building.
To approve.
second.
All right, thank you, Chad and Lori.
My only question is that our, as I ask this a lot, our attorneys have reviewed the whatever, the agreement.
Yes, just the initial proposal and what the thing you do, so when the A101 is through, that's the contract agreement that's supposed to that to the terms.
And RDG did the initial assessment also.
It is assessment as well.
Okay.
That's all I had.
Any other? No? All right, Karen?
Lori,
Yes.
Bridget,
Yes.
Chad,
Yes.
Kelly,
Yes.
Rick,
Yes.
Brett,
Yes.
Whitney,
Yes.
Okay, on to item E, district office furniture, fixtures and equipment.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Thank you, Lori and Kelly. Questions, comments?
Glad that it came under budget.
Yes. Likewise.
Good job.
I wish the photos were a little bigger so we could see what the furniture looked like. To zoom in.
So there's no surprises.
Okay, Karen.
Bridget,
Yes.
Chad,
Yes.
Kelly,
Yes.
Rick,
Yes.
Brett,
Yes.
Whitney,
Yes.
Lori,
Yes.
Okay, item F, the certified annual report, updated corrective action plan.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Thank you, Lori and Kelly. Any questions or comments? All right, cool. Karen?
Chad,
Yes.
Kelly,
Yes.
Rick,
Yes.
Brett,
Yes.
Whitney,
Yes.
Lori,
Yes.
Bridget,
Yes.
We're all glitching, I think, right now. Is that
Yeah.
right?
we're-
Yeah.
Internet.
Oh, really?
Fixed my phone.
Yeah.
That's good.
Okay, didn't know it wasn't just me. Okay, well,
Middle school is the next one.
okay,
I
Connected.
can see the bullet barely.
yes. Item G, the middle school project graphic construction final completion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right, thank you, Lori and Chad. Any?
Kelly,
Yes.
Rick,
Yes.
Brett,
Yes.
Whitney,
Yes.
Lori,
Yes.
Bridget,
Yes.
Chad,
Yes.
All right, now we're on to topics for discussion. Item A, are summer district projects for fiscal year 26. Gary.
Big board. The top of the sheet, you have different projects for this summer coming up. These have been kind of bundled together, so we need to look updates at something in 5-year plan with 4 Mile and Junior High. This is currently underway. Getting things set up to move forward with that, which will be a great help to give everyone a complete understanding on the needs and where it needs to be. The next one is carpet, floors, doors, and painting. That encompasses several areas, several buildings. Some of those that are included would be flooring at the senior high school, the steps that go down to the gymnasium, for an example, where they get a lot of traffic, a lot of wear. So they're getting to be a trip hazard. Same with the hallway to the back dock area, by the cafeteria. And then there's always painting that needs to be done, and doors that need to be repaired. And in this case, I think we're in pretty good shape, except for painting. Third item is concrete bollards at 4 Mile Elementary. On the east side, they do their parent drop off and pickup, and traffic is very tight on that area and backed out into the street. More and more parents tend to take their children to school and pick them up versus riding the bus like they used to do before COVID hit us. And they got used to it, and they liked it, apparently, in my opinion. So bollards are where the students are waiting there to get their ride home or to be dropped off in the morning. There's nothing to protect them from the traffic that is right there at that sidewalk. So bollards would help put a barrier there, also prevent any cars in the future or any time that may run into the building itself. It's a security situation, and it will take care of that. It's similar to what we did at the high school, only we used the big round concrete balls there. Anybody can penetrate into that area. So that's what's looking into for that. Also includes replacing some concrete in those areas as well. Concrete at the high school, sidewalk and parking lot areas. Includes a big area on the west side near the round drainage structure that's there in the sidewalk. That sidewalk we replaced quite a bit over there, but that's an area we have not replaced yet. And then it also includes some of the drive sections of pavement that's deteriorated, needs replaced. And also it'll include possibly a redesign of the round drain structure on the east side of the building. So it could be utilized for whatever students to wait for their rides or whatever. We're looking into it anyway. I think that's an item that's been brought up several times.
Through the years.
Recently and in the past, so we're looking into that as well. And then the tennis courts, I didn't realize that the tennis courts, they, talking with the contractor that installed them 15 years.
Has it
Those
been
tennis
15
courts,
years?
Has it been that long?
I don't think so.
Yeah, it's probably been,
It's been a while.
I don't think it's been 15 years.
it might be close.
You know, it's 15 years on baseball turf.
Yeah, because we opened the high school in 2009.
Yeah.
So-
We did the.
Feel like
And
it's
that was
10 or
a long
11,
time before we
10.
put
tennis
in
courts
tennis.
with the cross country.
Yeah,
It's
probably
not that long. So that's my only question is
10 years.
Probably
10.
been
Yeah.
At least 10, 11.
why? Are we gonna have to replace paint and seal every 10 years then and not 15 years?
You know, it's gotten a lot of traffic. a
We'll
lot of
see what
stuff.
you can get from them. I mean, what they will say.
I know the turf on the baseball field is 10 years, we're 15 there.
Like, didn't we did that, we redid that, didn't we, once?
No,
Okay.
not baseball yet. We did the football field at junior high.
I thought when we redid it is when we put the ram on the baseball field.
Yeah, we did.
You're talking
That
about,
after the 10-year life is on these turf fields, that was over 11 years when we replaced it.
Yeah.
And then we upgraded it with the ram head at that time.
Yeah, well, find out when you can, what the life of when we paint and seal the tennis court again.
Yeah.
Cause it doesn't seem like it's been that long. I mean, I know time flies and I'm only getting younger.
you don't think it needs to be done?
No, I don't dispute that. I just want to make sure that we got the life out of it that we were supposed to get out of it.
Concrete island.
Yeah. Winners of the game.
But we're not throwing ice melt down on our blue tennis court, are we?
Have you ever been in the sun in the winter? You just. you did a great job.
Gary, yes.
Seal away.
Find out how much time we're supposed to get out of it when we pay $160,000
Yeah,
to paint and seal it.
I'm investigating that price,
Okay,
but I expect that to be lower than that.
okay,
That was the kind of the first ballpark area we were able to obtain quote on,
okay.
but I know that I can get it done for less.
Okay, not if it only lasts 1 year though. I don't want that.
I think the life of it's about where we're at now.
Whatever, however many years. that is.
Is it a rubber sealer? Is that?
It's kind of a rubber clay base. Gives you better action for your ball. It's not just painted by any means,
Right.
paint wouldn't last at all.
Right,
When you look at it, it's worn through. It gets used and when the weather's appropriate, it gets used a lot.
Well,
I'm not disputing that part. I just want to know how much life do we get out of it? How many years? That's what I want to know. Yeah,
It'll be approximate.
I don't have a
Almost
problem
like
with
once a
fixing the
week.
tennis court.
it doesn't end up like the old one with the big cracks, like the Grand Canyon cracks and.
Hey, those
Terrible.
were there when I was a kid, so.
Exactly, so just seal it. Seal
I've
it
patched
twice.
that 4 times.
Wow.
Lori said she'd come out and help seal.
Yeah, well, after I'm done with whatever I'm going through.
that middle section on the sheet that you have there, remember, right after the 2020 referendum, how proud we were that we had knocked off our giant list. We were all the way down to almost nothing. How quickly that that changes, because I don't think that is truly an exhaustive list yet. It
Nope.
continues to grow. But those are some of the things that are identified as needs as we've gone through this process. And that, like I said, we'll keep adding to that list as things are identified.
Done a lot over the years.
Yeah,
Mhm.
millions and millions of
Our
square
growth, we
feet.
play catch up. I don't know of any district that's ahead of any schedule. on this type of growth. So we're all there.
Well, some of these on here, I mean, it doesn't seem like it's even gonna be realistic to get to, like the alternate gym that's been on there for years. You know, the purchase of the homes, I mean, that's kind of.
That's been on there since, that was on there before I came on the board, and it stays there.
Yeah, with Mitchellville and that playground, there are no other options, literally.
Yeah.
So it just
So
kind of
it-
hangs there.
It's an opportunity, and
Right.
we have to take advantage of when it becomes an opportunity.
But your point's well taken.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't care if it stays on there, I just, it's kind of like one of those where it's like, you know, it's probably never gonna come off the list, but.
I remember another one that was always on there that's not on there right now. And it was, I think some apartments. And
Yeah.
those are not on there right now, but those were always, something like the Mitchellville one was.
Mm,
Yeah, part of the gym comment was just history, like,
Yeah,
I don't even care if I ever see that get remodeled, it's nice as it is, and I get we can probably do something else out of it, because I think one time it was by putting carpet down and putting lower ceilings and.
Sure, classroom space or whatever, yeah.
well,
That's the last of the Altoona High School.
we need some really rich philanthropists to help us out with our list.
Accepting donations. Okay,
Appreciate it, Gary.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gary.
thank you, Gary.
Thank you very much.
Seal the tennis.
Okay, item B, fiscal year 2026 budget discussion, part 1.
First, maybe two, maybe three budget discussions for next year. Obviously, the legislatures have not, that's supplemental state aid yet for next year. But we'll go through the premise that 2% is what we anticipate for our funding in this particular budget discussion.
That's a good plan.
Again, the goal of this budget process is to publish the budget. By publishing the budget, we set two things: the maximum tax dollars, property tax dollars to be received, and also to set the maximum tax rate that the school district can levy. We don't know, obviously, the increase in supplemental state aid. I saw the problem with the challenge with what is the definition of state aid now when it comes to what's being pushed over to public schools. We'll go through the budget timeline, and then we'll talk about what are the things that might be affecting our budget. This review process, the items here are budget funds, non-budget funds. Those items that are after are ones that do affect the tax rate. The fiscal plan equipment levy, or PEBL, and the debt service fund are based on all of our valuations, whereas the general fund and management fund are just based on our regular valuations. Budget drivers there. We do know some of these things, we don't know all of them. Non-certified enrollment, based on our October 24 enrollment, we were up about 9 students, that's nice. You haven't heard, the governor did propose 2%. Senate also proposed 3%, and that's about $107 million in state funding. Within the budget process, there are also SSA numbers for TSS, which is the teacher salary supplement, professional development, early intervention Iowa, and also TLC. We assume these are at 2%, but we don't know. Generally, they are. One of the biggest questions we have up there is teacher salary supplement. I have that in bold. If you recall, over the last legislature, there was a minimum salary requirement for teachers. This goes to level 2 for this upcoming school year, whereas if you have at least 12 years of service, their salary should be $60,000 or more.
It doesn't affect us directly. Our teachers will have that salary. But if the pocket of money for TSS around the state is 2%, and if other districts don't have minimums met, will our TSS scholarships out supposed to be affected by that? Those are increases we don't know. So what I'm saying is that our TSS may be reduced because there are other schools that need the extra TSS to reach those minimum salary limits. What's not addressed so far is funding formula equity. There are some school districts that have a higher cost per pupil than what the state has. There has been funding formula dollars attached to these things in the past. For 2 of the past years, nothing from last year, it was $5 per student in the previous year. So it's not anything significant, but it is something that we have looked forward to being part of our dollars received. And also transportation equity. Any school district that is above the state average when it comes to the cost of transporting the student to school, they have received state money in the past. For our transportation equity, we have in the past. Our current year transportation equity is about $125,000. Based on our annual transportation report from 2024, would happen to be much higher per student transportation than it was in 2023. So if the transportation equity does come through, I would anticipate that we would receive more than $125,000. Again, that isn't guaranteed because I heard nothing about that. Using a 2% cost per pupil or FSA, those are the increases, it's $157 per student. If you want to go on enrollments, you'll see those increases there. And just a couple of different numbers on the certified enrollment regarding open enrollment, ELL students, and also preschool students. Wages are open again for both classified and certified staff. We met last week with the insurance committee and our insurance advisors. It looks like our medical premium increases based on claims through December are less than 4%, which is good news. I've heard about 10% for a lot of districts around the metro area. Our preliminary dental premiums have no changes. We're going to be able to increase some of our benefits in the dental plan without having to increase premiums. We anticipate that we will increase our things like orthodonture lifetime maximums up a little bit higher. That could help with recruiting for things from people in certain areas. So we'll be one of the first districts to be able to do that upside. Normally the limit has been $1,500 is their typical limit, customary limit. We're going to push that to about $2,500 for a lifetime maximum. So that's good for our employees. IFRS has not changed for a rate, so that is good as well. When IFRS does change, that is an increase in personnel costs that we have to budget for. With all that said, our new authority based on our enrollment is about $1.85 million. You can't see that in red. Hopefully your computer screens are back up. Based on anticipated salaries and benefits increases, we also had the approval recently of the staffing changes for next year. Increases in personnel costs. Total increases are about $1.23 million more than what our anticipated increases are within the general fund. So staffing requests, remember, include additional SAMs, additional teachers, counselors, and we have some program growth and some other fund resources. Financial indicators, you're going to be talking about the unspent authority and the solvency ratio quite often. This has been tipping down a little bit for us. I know we're well within the maximum still for the ISB recommendations, but I just caution that as we continue to spend and overspend our revenues, these will continue to decline. So going forward, as we anticipate additional students coming to Southeast Polk, just be easy with adding additional teachers right away. Just have that conversation with each other, and we will anticipate that there is program growth and enrollment growth, but unspent spending authority and solvency ratios like both. So you can't really make hard jerks and change that direction with slow movements, right? So you have to be real careful about not spending too much because all these salary changes that we have are ongoing salary changes. Federal funding levels. You might have heard something about this here recently in the news. There is a stay on this right now, but our federal funding, we receive about $5 million, about 4% of our general fund revenues from federal funds, excuse me, overall revenues from federal funds. And these are the programs that are identified and receive most of those revenues. Title programming, we understand that title programs are already been sent to the state based on this year's allocations. We don't anticipate Title I being reduced dollar-wise, but I can't know that for sure without things coming through. We have been reimbursed for our first quarter. I'm waiting for second quarter reimbursements to come from the title. Then special education funding, that's IDA Part B, we received about $350,000 through the ADA for that. In Medicaid, we have about $2.8 to $3 million in Medicaid funding. That normally does reduce our special education deficit, as you talk about deficits here towards year end.
And have we received that?
We bill monthly for those things, so we have received those monies. It's kind of so the news is that people that receive, individuals that receive Medicaid payments aren't affected. Medicaid in general, though, is not talked about in the context of these types of reimbursements. Medicaid that we receive don't pay back an individual, they pay back a school district for time served to help individuals. So right now, we don't see things affected with Medicaid with their reimbursements, but again, I can't tell what the future is with the what's going on with that. New authority, new money. How do we get this new money? Have one of you guys explain this one. You've seen this enough. Our funding silos, state aid, the 540 uniform levy, every school district has a $5.40 property tax rate upon their citizens. And then going up to 88.4%, the rest is funded by state aid. Again, just the reiteration of what the district funds are and which ones are affected by taxes. Our tax valuations grew about 4.5% overall, about 4% at the regular valuations. You may or may not be aware, the valuation growth of property taxes valuation wise is limited now to 3% in tax valuations based on what's going on at our state level. From a general fund standpoint, we approved the dropout prevention application recently to about $2.85 million. The cash reserve levy funds things we get sending authority like constant enrollment growth and our certified enrollments. Those things were approved previously by the board. We get sending authority as well for excess LL costs and also special education deficit. And we can also levy for cash if we need to. The statutory limit of the cash reserve levy is 20% of future regular program expenditures, or about $8.5 million. We don't have that capacity to do so to keep the tax rates where it's at now, so I'm not going to levy more in cash reserve levy and continue to keep our tax rates where it's at. General fund perspective, again, the FDRC application, the dollars there, so on and so forth down there. Our cash reserve limit right now, based on what I've built into the budgets, is about $2.3 million. So if we have room to get the cash, we'd have another $6.2 million, the difference in our maximum and what we're actually doing from a cash reserve standpoint. These are interesting things for us. You may hear things and have heard things from the past with our taxpayers here at Southeast Polk. There's a little thing called a income surtax. When we file our taxes here, the people that live here, it's a tax on tax. So once you do your personal income tax, you have your tax liability. There's that one last step that says 5% then is then added to the schools surtax, district surtax, for the purpose to fund instructional support levy. The district surtax and property taxes work in an inverse relationship. Our instructional support levy, we garnered about $5.8 million total. What we don't get in income surtax, we grab it from property taxes. What has happened with, or what has happened just beginning this year and last year, is that the state has reduced the personal tax rates. Therefore, our income surtax has gone down as far as dollars. Consequently, the property tax collections for instructional support levy have gone. What does that mean? am I talking about, Brittany? The income surtax itself, the property tax is based on what I had into the budget module now. Just because of that change, our tax rate would have increased 12.5 cents per thousand if I've done nothing else. Leaving else the same, but obviously we manage that tax rate, so it's not increasing overall. But it does play a little bit as to where we can put those tax rate pieces, whether it's management fund or cash reserve value. But you'll see this here a little bit down the line. Right there. 12.5 cents inherent tax rate increase of about $400,000. So we're getting $400,000 more in property taxes. Where in the past we would have got that through the income surtax. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yes, so why did that go down?
Income surtax went down because our tax rates, the personal level at state level, went from 5.3% to 3.8%. So income taxes, the whole for the school, for the state of Iowa, are going down. Personally, for you and me, since our taxes have gone down, the 5% that gets taxed on that also goes down. And that's what funds the surtax.
Okay.
There's a problem.
I'm trying to follow.
I'm trying to figure out if my personal tax rate went down, how do I always owe every year? That's a whole other question.
Our income surtax is 5%. We can move that up, down, or eliminate it completely. You might remember a few years ago, we talked about reducing that income surtax. I'm glad we haven't at this point in time. I'd like to keep that income surtax with that at 5%. Conversely, if we didn't have that, property taxes would inherently go up. Debt service, our debt rate limit is $4.05 statutorily. We have a debt rate right now built into the tax rate of $2.13, so there is plenty of room for debt rate. The management fund, we need to make sure our balances are sufficient for insurances, including property casualty insurance and workers' comp. You've heard me mention this in the past regarding things that happen outside Southeast Polk, including those catastrophic fires in California, hurricanes, Florida. All those pieces draw to us in a manner that the increase of premiums just because the industry has increased premiums. Early retirement wealth part of management fund and then sort of really return settlements in the management fund. This is a summary of our tax rates over the past several years. You can see that it's been holding still since 2021. I've built the budget module right now to hold still for 2026, unless you guys want to move that tax rate up. I'm not seeing yeses. Here are our metro area school tax rates. We're kind of right in the middle of that group.
Where are you? Good.
Out of the 331 school districts in the state of Iowa, we are the 58th highest district with a tax rate, 58th ranked highest for tax rate.
It's better than what we used to be way back when.
Used to be first and second.
Third, fourth, yeah.
We are the 13th largest school district in the state of Iowa. This isn't new, but rather than new, this is just here for this tax notice that will go out by the counties. If you remember what this tax notice, this tells us that, barely see it here, but if we were to keep the same dollars that we collected last year, what would our tax rate be? It's not rational in my mind. When our tax valuations increase or levies that are stated levies like our Pebble levy, the dollars are going to increase. That's just the way math works with that. So we still have to have this public hearing A, public hearing 1, and you'll see those things come out in the mail around March 15th.
And they have not improved the description of any of it, so everyone that will come in here thinks that we're raising their taxes, correct?
Correct, absolutely correct.
Which is not happening.
Public hearing
Saying that on YouTube.
Right. Public hearing B, that's the normal, what we would consider the normal, the previous way we adopt budgets here. Must certify by April 30th. Our final board meeting before the 30th is April 10th, so we'll do that second. Unless things come up that we'll have to adjust for and do budget meetings for. Behind all these scenes are notifications we need to have with the newspaper. There's a 10-20 day notice. You gotta set public hearing, so it really does push our timelines back if something that's changed. Public hearing A again to establish the maximum amount of dollars to receive the property taxes. Once that's done, we have the ability now to kind of manage the dollars between the different funds where we used to not have that in the past. But still, this stage is right, and people are trying to think that we will increase our tax rate, but we will not increase our tax rate. Public hearing B again is that full approval. Here's some dates for your calendars. February 20th, we'll talk part 2. Hopefully we'll have things set at the state level. We can talk more concrete about things. Certify the maximum property tax dollars during March. March 6th, we'll have the budget sketch part 3 if you need it. We'll have our first public hearing on the 27th. We'll approve and adopt on the 10th. And plenty ahead of your April 30th. What questions do you have?
Do you have a backup plan if things change at the federal level on our federal money funds and or state funds? Without warning?
Biggest piece, I mean, title programs, well, let's just say this, and Dr. Latham will agree with me. We don't receive our total Title I budget until we're well within the year. We've had to make some changes, or we'll make some changes this year already to adjust to what that budget is. So I anticipate for title programs, we're going to be limited dollars wise. We would make similar type adjustments to be able to keep people within the district that are federally funded. So I'm not saying that, but we would have to adjust that to regular program dollars, federal dollars. The bigger issue for me is that all of our food service employees technically are federally funded employees. So if we are doing away with federal funding at the school district level, we are also going away in some manner with that particular program. Now, how do we adjust for that? I don't think we can get away with not feeding our students.
Do we have a backup plan for that?
Yeah.
Okay, you working on one?
So,
Yes, you do. Okay. I just want to make sure I know you are, but I know last week probably made you start thinking about potential problems, so. I just think that you should make sure we can punt fairly quickly.
How do we come to private school? In fact, so you're joking?
Gonna walk away on.
Crazy. No, yeah, I'm crazy. Anyway, I said it. Is what it is.
So the 1.2 million number, it's in red. That's hard to read up there, but
Yeah.
I can see it pretty clearly here. That's with 2% SSA.
Correct.
If by some miracle we got 2.5 or 3%, I assume you've run all those numbers.
Doesn't change.
Doesn't change much.
You dreamer.
I am really impressed that you even think that we'll get anything above 2.
It said by some.
You are such a saint.
Um,
So my
so,
question doesn't seem so funny, does it?
so that number basically is that's we're deficit spending in order to meet the increase of costs.
Anticipated that spending for this year 2026.
Okay. And so that's where our spending authority,
You use it.
unspent spending authority is going down, right?
Correct.
And we have a little bit of cushion because we've managed our finances really well for many years.
We
It's-
growth. We have growth.
And growth, but that's gonna start to shrink down to a point where, we're saying right now, we're not gonna raise property taxes. But the reality is, something's gonna have to give eventually if SSA continues to not keep up. So
Yeah, I don't disagree.
it means bigger class sizes, less offerings for our students, or we have to raise property taxes.
Yeah. I would say that personnel costs we spend 80% annually in personnel costs. Based on what state law is written now, if you can't get to a negotiated point within your unions, it drops to CPI. CPI has been 2.9%. Anticipated to drop to 2.6%. Not great with math, but 2.6 might be a little bit more than 2%.
Wait a minute, you said you're not good with math, how did we hire?
So there's people are important.
Mhm.
But there's also limits that we have from the funding standpoint.
Which also impact class size and everything else that suddenly parents care about, but at this point, no one's cared enough, so.
Which brings. Chad kind of checked on a little bit, so you mentioned not adding teachers, don't get in a hurry of adding teachers because when enrollment goes up. So how's that gonna impact us with the new school? Are we? I hate to even say it, are we planning for a reduction somewhere in case? Because
I wouldn't
Because
say
we
that.
have to have teachers, so I mean, if enrollment goes up, new school, new elementary comes in, we've got to add teachers. That means cuts are gonna have to be somewhere else if we're not gonna be able to pay for the bills. So I don't want to get behind the 8 ball and say, you know.
So our growth for the district has been manageable growth. We're not growing 400 to 500 students a year. So the planning ahead of that it's been manageable for us. Our growth now for 90 students this year isn't in one grade level in one attendance area. So we kind of are able to manage those things as best we can. My word of caution is just when we have those growths, let's think a little bit more closely about, do we need that extra? Do we need to move our average class size up? Those types of discussions, because as this continues, as our in excess of revenue spending continues every year, it's not a one-time deal. These are people, so these are ongoing costs. So as you see enrollment growth, yes, revenues do go up based on how the state foundation works. But we control that spending aspect of it. To answer your question directly regarding the elementary school, the new elementary school, the staffing of it. We haven't talked that far about the staffing of it because it's down the road quite a bit, but is it 500 new students all at one time, or is it transferring positions to be able to fill that particular building within the other 8 elementary schools we have now?
No, I get it. I mean, you're gonna have, I don't think we've added the school yet since I've been here, but we haven't added teachers.
Thankfully, we don't have one opening this fall, is the point.
But the point is, it doesn't matter. I mean, if it's gonna be a trickle effect. It's not gonna just stop.
Sure, I think part of what Kevin's talking about is the last 2 years of staffing plans, we've been ramping up a little bit to address growth and to prepare for future growth that's projected so that we can absorb that as it continues to happen. And I think what I hear Kevin saying, and I know because we've had these conversations, is let's not get too far ahead of our skis as we move along here and make sure that we're being really planful with each step of the way.
No, and I get that, not because it's like we get to the point where we can add staff back and then something happens and now so do we just, I mean, I know we just added some staffing and stuff and now you kind of got me looking at like, okay, are those positions gonna be able to be, so, I mean, it's just things that we gotta think about, and I get it, you don't want to rush to judgment, but not saying we're rushing to judgment, but we look in the future for our budget. We should probably be looking at how that new school is going to affect us on what new teachers. And I mean, I know that's for planning that we don't really know yet, but I guess as a board member, I'd like to know instead of worrying about it now when the school comes and like, oh, we can't afford new teachers. I get it, we don't wanna just, we don't have to have an extra band teacher now, or we don't have to have an extra, you know, some of those teachers. You know, because I mean, some of this is, well, not some of it, a lot of it. I won't even be able to say most of it is state problems. You know, we've got like teacher leadership programs that's funded. You know, I never thought I'd come back to this rant, but you know, you got those teachers that are still funded by the state, and if we have to lay teachers off, they remain, but we don't backfill our teachers. Those are programs that, you know, we don't have control over, and it's, again, state induced problems end up being problems on our staff later that, you know, so I just want to be prepared if this is truly not that it's a panic mode, but I get that you don't want to rush to it, but I think we need to probably have those conversations with that new school, because we're gonna have to add new teachers. No, I know you don't, I'm just saying it because I need to say it. For one, I think people need to hear it and know that the state's
15 years,
basically,
15 years they've been underfunding us. 15 years, there's my rant for today.
sorry, I didn't mean to start with.
No, I've been going all day about it.
And that thing is nobody's sitting here. There's probably people out there listening. But where's the people when conversations like this are happening, they come and yell at us later because. So I guess, am I overreacting? Yeah, maybe. I mean,
I remember the summers, they came from a certain elementary school because their classroom size was getting too big. And I sat right there and I said to them, because they were all here in a big group to complain, our classroom size is too big. And I said, you know, coming in August is not when you need to show up somewhere. You need to show up January to May when the legislature is in session and they're underfunding public education. And I say it and I say it and I say it till I'm blue in the face. But everyone forgets and they focus on social problems and they lose track of what's important, which should be public education.
you mean like whether we should have a 2-hour late start today or whether.
I'm not just gonna
No, but
identify
I say that
problems,
because
but
it's stupid.
but-
It's like they worry about the dumb things and there's nobody sitting out here.
that somebody's creating problems that don't exist.
They're not going to the legislature. They're.
They come to the school in August because suddenly they see a large class size. And when they should be fighting for their kid in the classroom is January to May, when the legislature is in session and sets the SSA funding amount for every public school in the state of Iowa. I've said it, and if YouTube doesn't listen, so be it. It's the 15th year I've said it.
So right now, they need to be talking to the legislature.
They should be up there, pounding doors, making someone listen to them.
How much is it they're giving to private schools? Lori? What was it?
44%, and we're gonna get 2%. 500,000 kids get 2%. And 40,000 get 44%. And no responsibility for how those funds are spent. I'm not mad.
No, passionate about this and it's just ridiculous. But anyway, thanks, Kevin.
Any other questions?
Thanks, Kevin. Okay, item C, the Prairie Meadows Betterment Grant. And that's Joe.
Bring us good news, Joe.
This is fun stuff.
Bring you a little good news.
Yeah.
I'd like to thank Kevin for upsetting everybody.
He didn't do it. He didn't do it. I know what we're up against.
Okay, some, maybe on a more positive note, the Prairie Meadows grants that time of year. It's also that time of year for, Polk County Community Betterment Grants at the same time, which is interesting to me, you know, I mean, just from wow, that's weird that their deadlines are exactly the same day. I wish that wasn't the case. I think it would give our people some time to maybe adjust after grant round number 1 and move on to grant round number 2. But that being the case, in front of you, it's this piece of paper here. I gave it to you in a hard copy because some of it may change and I just don't want to publish something that may change a little bit, but our people have put forth 6 different projects. And I know I say this every time, but I just can't say it enough times. I always love our projects from our people. They're always so interesting and innovative and smart. And they're all better than anything that I could ever dream up. But I'll just run through these really fast for you so you kind of get an overview of them, and then we'll bring them back at the end of the month on the 20th for a formal vote, and then a signature from board president to go on a resolution that goes with each of these projects submissions, so that they can tag our submissions with our board. And know that they've been, hey, we read these, we like them, we endorse them. So the first one's from Mitchellville, and it's called the Atrium Enhancement, Designing a Collaboration and Presentation Space. You've seen this one before. This is like maybe phase 3 of this same plan. And if you've ever been into Mitchellville, you go in the door and there are all those windows in the big open space. And it's really been a retrofit of that entire thing, which seems weird because Mitchellville is a relatively new school for the most part, built not long ago. But in the space, Principal Keelman would like to see 16 visual reality headsets to the tune of about $12,000. It would impact 280 kids, and it's a community betterment grant. Second one was put together by Principal Tammy Steenhook, and their project is titled Restoring Connections, Buddy Benches and Peace Pathways on the Playground. For whatever reason, this one has caught my interest, mostly because it's how can we use the playground and physical things like buddy benches and peace paths and all the other associated materials. How do we use those kinds or create those things and then use them so that kids can connect with each other better and in different ways other than just the swing set? Or if they're having a disagreement of some kind, where can they go to solve it? And who could be there to help them? Those people on the playground. I just thought it was a great idea. Something, again, I never would have thought of in 1,000 years. The ask is $10,000. It'll impact about 500 kids. It's another community betterment grant. Out of the 6 grants that are here in front of you, this is the only one that's a youth sports and recreation grant written by Mr. Campbell and Ms. Norris. Fundamentally for swimming in the Southeast Polk Community School District. And it's to revamp the pool timing equipment and to add a 1 meter diving board.
Oh.
Name of the project is Southeast Polk Pool Timing and Improvement Project, phase 1 of possible 2 phases. Currently, the pool that's used is using outdated, no longer supported equipment to time events and so on and so forth. And the addition of another 1 meter diving board would allow us to do a ton of different things apparently that we cannot now. So it really kind of unlocks a big door here. And it comes with a $50,000 ask. It also will impact about 500 kids. Again, it's youth and sports and recreation. Project number 4 is from Runnels, put together by Mr. Bartles and Christy Silman, who's the guidance counselor there. And their project is about creating an inspiring leadership environment for young learners. They're asking for student leadership themed art display items. So we have kids who have leadership based or leadership themed art that they've made themselves, and they'd like to display those things in the building as an extension of a initiative we've had for now going on 4 years with Leader and Me. The ask is $1,500. It'll impact about 400 kids. Number 5 was written by Principal Bruns at Clay, and it's about updating Clay's library and community learning space. It kind of is a mix of a number of different things here, but we've got 3 couch arrangements, 10 molding chairs, a reading rug, and a mural from a local artist. I think, I'm imagining it's in the spirit of the mural that's in the, Altoona Elementary Library as well. And then, the ask is $29,500. It'll affect about 800 students. And then lastly, we've got one from Delaware, from Chelsea Clark and Christine Bartles. Mr. and Mrs. Bartles are featured on this. They're both grant writing folks. But their project is about building strong readers and updating our library with engaging books and learning spaces. So fundamentally, what they're looking for are nonfiction and decodable books, enhanced learning spaces, and some flexible seating to the tune of a $20,000 ask for basically to serve 500 kids. Overall, obviously we have 6 really good plans here that I'm really optimistic about. Where our ask is about $123,000 total dollars, with almost 3,000 kids would be positively impacted by all these projects. And that's kind of the information that Prairie Meadows wants from us, but certainly wanted to share it with you all with the idea that we'll come back for formal vote in 2 weeks.
Okay, it hasn't been turned, these apps haven't been turned in yet, right?
Right.
I would say on the swimming pool timing and improvement project.
Yeah.
I would say, as a person that writes grants, there's a lot more kids impacted than 500. In that, if you take into consideration the clubs that use it, and then the different teams throughout the year, and then all the teams that come to our school are impacted in Polk County. And so I think it's a lot more than 500 kids impacted by that upgrade.
Yeah, I can send that question back to Mr. Campbell and say, hey, what about, did you guys include?
I
And
understand they're thinking their kids, but
Is that the total cost of that? Or is that just a portion of it?
This is phase 1.
I want to say we are into it for some money, but I can't remember how much it is. We might be putting in 20 and asking for 50. That's just a guess. I can get you that answer though.
makes me think we should ask for a legacy grant too for the junior high pool.
My understanding is that system, that timing and improvement, the store thing outdated anyway, so it's gonna need to be replaced. Do we have a backup plan if we don't get the grant for this?
I don't know.
Sure. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, out of all of them, it seems like that one's. I don't know, there's no really list here, but it seems like that one would benefit the schools probably the best because it is outdated from what I've been told.
And that's a different bucket too, right? It's youth
Mhm.
sports and
Yeah.
recreation.
Yeah.
So it's.
Yeah, and a
Not
different
complete.
outcome, whereas if
The only
we
reason I
want to
suggest
ask
more
for
than
money.
500 students is because it looks better if it's impacting more students as well, and it is
Right.
impacting more than just our kids, so.
Well, and with the addition of the, a 1 meter diving board, the things that could lead to are like being able to host more regional events and bringing in schools from around more than just the metro, because they can have their competitions at our school.
Yeah, I guess I'm just curious as to if we've got. If for some reason we wouldn't get that, because that seems like it might be a necessity that we need to work on, so.
I don't
Yeah,
think.
everything usually defaults, when we don't get a
Yes.
grant, we usually default to whatever
Yes.
we can devise as plan B, C,
no,
D, E, and
Yeah.
F.
And he has another.
Well, I get it.
default. Yeah.
Yeah.
And on average, we've maybe with the exception of a year ago, we averaged about 11% of all of our asks. Like we may get all 6 of these grants, but get portions of them,
Mm.
which will cause us to immediately go to plan B. Like if we can't afford it, then we've got to come up with a different plan here.
But any amount that we do get is appreciated and
Sure.
very much valued
Sure.
and very generous from Prairie Meadows.
Yeah, because, well, when it says phase 1 if possible too, that's kind of curious on. If you say if you don't get enough, it's only phase 1. Or there other.
Right.
I do know because Jessica Braunschweig Norris called me or messaged me to ask some questions on getting approval and stuff. And I know, I don't think this includes the scoreboard.
No, that's phase two.
That's
This is phase
two.
one of two.
That's what I thought. And that is like 34,000 something on its own.
Yes.
Well, that's why I was just curious on what possible two phase was. If it was.
I think that's what.
Yeah, I think there's like a Cadillac master plan, and then you can divide that up into whatever phases
See what
that you
happens.
would like or think might enable you to have a better chance to get the grant. I think that was their plan. I mean, these folks and I haven't really talked about it other than via email.
Mhm. Thank you.
Cool.
Thanks.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Any questions along the way or whatever, feel free to email and I'll get back to you on the 500. And what phase two looks like for you, Brett, on the pool plan.
No, sounds like. Bridget might have answered, so I wouldn't.
I think that's.
Okay. Okay, cool. Thanks.
Thanks,
Thank
Joe.
I don't
Mr.
want to
Brown.
update. Joellen.
All right, thank you, board. This is kind of a follow-up to the conversation from Mr. Bacom. As Dr. Halupnik shared those annual reports that need to be reviewed each year, there's a new requirement for Title I reports this year. So sharing that information here with the board this evening. So some of the basic premises and Mr. Bacom reviewed these, and I will say we shared this with the district advisory. So we thank Chad Crabb for being there that evening and hearing some of this information. But we do know that Title I is a federal program and it is part of ESSA. So when we look at the Every Student Succeeds Act, a lot of the implications and follow-ups are for schools that are designated as Title I. So the intent is to provide financial support for resources for children from low-income schools and with the goal of meeting academic standards. So basically, Title I is designed to level the playing field for all students regardless of income. So some of the key ideas is that the Title I funds overall are generated based on a formula at the state level. And as Mr. Bacom mentioned, the census data generates the funds. So we do expect to receive our full allocation this year. As he mentioned, we get that quarterly. Having said that, our overall allocation was reduced this year based on census data. We do our selection of schools in June, and we usually don't get our allocation. This year we got it in October. So that does require us to do some adjusting as we go along, particularly when those funds go down. So the census data generates the funds to the school, and then the poverty rate determines which schools that the district will choose to serve. So we have to look at the free and reduced lunch rates for all of our schools and decide which ones will receive Title I services. And then our academic achievement determines the selection of students. So once a school is identified, all students are eligible to receive those services based on the academic criteria that goes along with that. So this year we are serving these 6 schools, not listed, they're alphabetical order, not in the free and reduced lunch order. But because we did receive a pretty healthy reduction in our allocation, we will be serving 5 schools next year. So based on our data from October of this year, Mitchellville will no longer be served as a Title I school in the 25-26 school year. Continue throughout this year. Oh, I wanted to do that, but they will not be served next year. So the overall goal at Southeast Polk then is to provide students more opportunities to achieve grade level standards in reading and math. And the key guideline is that Title I funds are intended to supplement, not supplant, academic services. So they always compare it to the 3 meals a day. All students come to school, and if we think of their academics, they are to get 3 meals a day. If they are eligible for Title I services, they would receive 3 meals a day and a snack. We have to make really sure that we're not replacing one of the meals with a snack. So we can't take kids out of core instruction that all kids are receiving and have them receive a snack instead. So that has to be on top of instruction from what students are receiving. So again, supplementing would be the 3 square meals and a snack. The delivery services that we have at Southeast Polk, we have some push-in model where the Title I teacher goes into the classroom and the teacher might provide whole group instruction. And then when they get into groups, the Title I teacher might work with groups in a smaller basis so that they can get more support. Sometimes we do a pull-out model where the students might come during an independent time and they would go directly to the Title I teacher for additional services. And most schools have a hybrid model where they combine the push-in and the pull-out. Because it's 3 meals and a snack, that can't always be done in a school day. And so we do have things before school, after school, and during the summer. And we do target which grade levels. We really focus on elementary, but specifically in grades K-3, because we know again how important that foundation is. So census does the allocation, and then the free and reduced lunch rate determines which schools are served. Then once those schools are identified, we use academic achievement criteria to determine which students will receive additional services. And it's a fluid model. So if we're looking at ISASP assessments, FAST, and our unit assessments, a student might be coming in for a certain math standard, and they might come in for those 6 weeks, but then on the next unit, they're doing okay. So it is a fluid model where students are able to come in and out of the program based on the needs that they're demonstrating. Another key part of Title I is family engagement. So all schools, all 6 schools receive a budget for family engagement. And some of the activities might include a family night. Some of you might have been to those before. It might include books to be given away or math games to be given away or books or math games to be sent home in school and back. But those funds are really designed to work with the family to support those skills, with that premise that the best predictor of student success is that partnership with the families and how we do that work both at school and at home. So that is an overall picture of our Title I plan. As Kevin mentioned, again, we do the selection of schools and then we find out our budget. So we're constantly, the budget doesn't change if you add schools. You make a determination as to how many schools you can successfully serve with the budget that you are allocated. So we will continue to monitor that and watch how things are going. But the bottom line is we will continue to support our students and provide them all the support that they need.
Thank you.
Thank you.
With Mitchellville coming off the list next year.
Yes.
What does that look like exactly?
They had 1 Title I staff member, and so that member has been reassigned throughout the district for next year. She'll continue that. And so all buildings have a reading interventionist, and then Title I schools get interventionists on top of that. So they will still have a reading interventionist, but they will no longer have a math interventionist. Only Title I buildings have math interventionists.
Okay, and so like if they're in next year, if they continue, that continues to reduce, then we're kind of leaning more on our interventionists.
Yes. Yes.
We don't have that extra level of
Right.
support.
Right. And we're fortunate that we have MTSS structures built within our system. So we'll be short a person, which always makes it difficult. But the system and the structure for providing interventions will still be in place.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Was the family literacy night an example of one of the activities that was funded? from this?
No, we used a different funding stream, an early literacy grant to do that. But I think Delaware had, I know Delaware and 4 Mile are both combining their Leader in Me and literacy and math nights together. So I think Delaware had theirs just recently. 4 Mile will be having theirs at the beginning of March. So yeah, so those are individual to the schools, where the family literacy night was everybody. Yes. Okay.
Thanks.
All right, thank you.
Okay, item E, Day on the Hill review. Chad and I attended along with Dirk. Do you have any takeaways to share or?
Well, I mean, we had a couple of good conversations, with Representative Losi and, Olson. At the Capitol, and the event that IASB puts on, as far as, you know, the lobbyists kind of telling us what's coming up with the bills is always very, interesting, educational. So that part I think was good. And then the student presentations they did again in the, I don't know what you call that, Rotunda area. I think that was really good too. So, always feel like I wish we could have a little bit more engagement. I know they're all running around with 100 bills being thrown against the wall, or 200, or I don't even know what the number is, but it would be nice if we could get more engagement and figure out how we can connect more with our representatives throughout the year. To hopefully maybe show them a little bit more about what we're doing here and about the red number that we see. We've seen for the last few years with their budget presentation, because we need more money.
Can you invite them to
Yeah,
see who
Yeah.
shows up and interview?
yeah, we
Yeah.
talked about that.
If we haven't, later that day, after we were back already, I did get a text from Representative Gustav, who we didn't have a chance to talk to. He was in a committee meeting or something, but just kind of talking about the same thing. Is there a chance to connect? So.
It was interesting in the, different schools have their students come and present about things that unique programs going on in their schools. And one of the first schools we approached as we went down the steps into the rotunda was Norwalk, and they had a group talking about Leader in Me, and they were telling us all about it. And it was kind of fun to hear the students and we're standing there listening patiently and like, yeah, our school is doing that too. Is pretty cool. So I think it's by invitation. I think the IASB maybe like chooses which schools, but my hope is to see some Southeast Polk representation there in the future. All right.
Lori, you got me all pessimistic right now.
I am not gonna dash your hopes.
Great. Okay.
Motion to adjourn.